The clock on the kitchen wall blinked 9:47 p.m., each second loud enough to echo through the silence of the Collins home. The roast chicken had gone cold. Emma sat at the dinner table with 2 plates set, her fingers tracing the edge of Daniel's untouched glass. She told herself not to look at the time again, not to check her phone again. But she did. 3 missed calls. No reply. Daniel had said he'd be late. Another project, another client dinner. That was nothing new. For the last few months, his overtime had become routine, as predictable as the sigh she released when she heard the same excuse. She had stopped asking what the project was. She had stopped fighting about it. She simply waited, a loyal wife in a quiet house that once felt warm but now felt staged, like the set of a life she no longer believed in. She rose and began clearing the plates. Upstairs, their daughter Lily's nightlight glowed through the crack of her door. Emma hesitated at the bottom step, listening to the faint hum of the lullaby playing from the baby monitor. It reminded her of the nights Daniel used to read bedtime stories, his voice soft and silly. That was before the late nights. Before the phone he always kept face down. Her phone buzzed, a message from Daniel, still at the office. Don't wait up. No heart emoji. No, love you. Just cold efficiency, like a business transaction. Emma stared at it for a long moment, her mind whispering a question she hated herself for thinking. Is he really there? The thought came and went, then returned stronger. She tried to distract herself by folding laundry, watching TV, scrolling through old photos. Daniel smiling at a summer barbecue. Daniel kissing Lily's forehead in the hospital. Daniel laughing, her Daniel, or maybe the man she thought he was. At 11:06 p.m., the phone rang. She jumped. But it wasn't Daniel. Hi, Mrs. Collins. This is Sandra from Evergreen Elementary. Sorry to call so late. I just wanted to confirm Daniel's volunteering for the father-daughter event tomorrow? Emma blinked. He didn't mention it. But yes, I'm sure he will. Sandra thanked her and hung up, but the conversation left Emma cold. If he'd planned to spend the evening with his daughter, why hadn't he told her? She sat on the couch, staring at the dark TV screen, seeing her own reflection, tired eyes, a half-hearted smile. Midnight crept closer. The sound of a car passing outside made her heart jump, but it wasn't him. Finally, she called his office. Hi, this is Emma Collins. I'm looking for my husband, Daniel Collins. He said he'd be working late tonight. The pause. Then a man's voice replied, Ma'am, the office closed at 6. Everyone left hours ago. The words hit her like a drop of ice water. Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Collins clocked out at 5:48 p.m. Emma hung up slowly, her hands trembling. The phone slid from her grip and landed on the rug with a soft thud. She stood there, still, her breath shallow, the house suddenly unfamiliar. Every picture on the wall seemed to mock her. Family portraits, anniversary smiles, the illusion of a perfect life. In the kitchen, the light above the sink flickered. Emma turned it off, leaving the room in shadow. She sat at the table again, staring at his empty plate. The air was heavy with silence, the kind that follows when truth begins to whisper but hasn't yet spoken. She whispered into the dark, Where are you, Daniel? Upstairs, Lily stirred and murmured in her sleep. Emma rose, kissed her daughter's forehead, and tucked her blanket tighter. When she turned off the light, she glanced at the window. The driveway was still empty. By the time she returned to her bed, the space beside her was cold. She lay awake until dawn, waiting for a sound that never came. Tomorrow, she told herself, she'd stop pretending not to notice. Tomorrow, she would find out where he really went after work. Morning sunlight streamed through the blinds, slicing the room into narrow bands of light and shadow. Emma stirred, realizing the space beside her was still empty. Daniel's side of the bed remained untouched, his pillow cold. For a moment, she told herself he must have fallen asleep at a friend's place after working late. But even that sounded hollow now. Her phone showed 6 unread messages from the night before, all from her, none from him. Where are you? Are you okay? Please call me. She deleted them before Lily could see. By breakfast, she forced a smile, spreading jam on toast for her daughter. Daddy had to stay at work, she said softly. Lily nodded, too young to sense the lie. Emma's voice cracked anyway. After dropping her off at school, she sat in the car outside, gripping the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. She dialed Daniel's number again. Straight to voicemail. Then again. And again. The sound of his recorded voice, calm and professional, began to feel like mockery. At noon, she decided to call his office once more. "Is Daniel in today?" she asked the receptionist. "Mr. Collins?" "He took the day off," the woman said cheerfully. Emma froze. "He what?" "Yes, he filed for personal leave yesterday afternoon." Her pulse quickened. Daniel had told her he'd be working late, yet apparently he'd taken time off. A strange buzzing filled her ears. She thanked the woman and ended the call, her mind spiraling. If he wasn't at work, where was he? She texted him one more time, "Please just tell me you're okay." No reply. The afternoon dragged. Emma sat on the couch, phone clutched in hand, staring at the family photo on the mantel. She tried to remember the last time they'd laughed together, the last time he'd looked at her and really seen her. There were no answers, just memories that now felt edited, cropped, and incomplete. Her phone rang suddenly. Relief surged until she saw the caller ID. A known number. "Hello." Static. Then a faint voice. "Mrs. Collins? This is Officer Green from the Oak Ridge station. Do you know a Daniel Collins?" Her heart nearly stopped. "Yes. He's my husband. Has something happened?" "No, ma'am, nothing like that. His car was parked overnight near the interstate rest area. No report filed, no damage. We just wanted to confirm if it was left intentionally." Emma swallowed hard. "He said he was at work last night. Why would his car be there?" "That's what we'd like to know too. Would you like to come identify it?" She agreed, her hands shaking. The drive took 40 minutes, each mile filled with questions she couldn't answer. At the rest area, the officer guided her to a black sedan parked beneath a flickering light. Daniel's car. Inside, his jacket was neatly folded on the passenger seat. His phone charger still plugged in. But no wallet. No phone. No Daniel. Emma's voice trembled. "Did you check the surrounding area?" The officer nodded. "We did. Nothing suspicious. Maybe he left it here and got a ride." She forced a polite nod, though inside she was unraveling. She reached for the car door handle but hesitated. A faint smell of cologne lingered. His, but mixed with something unfamiliar. A woman's perfume. Her stomach twisted. She stepped back, blinking fast. "Can I take the car home?" The officer nodded. "Once we finish the paperwork." That night, Daniel still hadn't returned. Emma sat by the window, calling him every hour. Each missed call felt heavier than the last, the silence stretching between them like an ocean. At 2 a.m., she finally gave up. She scrolled through her recent calls, her finger hovering over Lena R., a name she didn't recognize, recently synced from Daniel's cloud backup. She almost pressed it. Almost. But instead, she locked the phone and whispered, "Tomorrow." Tomorrow, she'd stop waiting for him to answer. Tomorrow, she'd start finding the answers herself. Morning came, pale and unwelcoming. Emma hadn't slept. The phone still sat beside her pillow, its screen black and silent. Daniel hadn't called. Not a text. Not a word. The unanswered calls filled her call log like a confession she hadn't written. She got Lily ready for school, moving like a ghost through the motions. "Mommy, is Daddy coming today?" her daughter asked, adjusting her backpack. Emma forced a smile that hurt her cheeks. "Soon, sweetheart. Daddy's just busy." When Lily left, the silence returned, thick, humming, alive. Emma sat at the kitchen table, staring at Daniel's tablet resting under a pile of unopened mail. He always guarded it, claiming it held confidential work files. But he hadn't taken it with him this time. Her chest tightened. For minutes she stared at the device, debating. Curiosity whispered, guilt shouted back. Finally, she exhaled shakily and powered it on. The lock screen appeared, a photo of Lily on her birthday, Daniel's hand visible on her shoulder. 4 digits. She tried their anniversary, no luck. Lily's birth date, nothing. Then, almost jokingly, she entered her own birthday. The screen unlocked instantly. A small, hollow laugh escaped her lips. Of course. The tablet opened to Daniel's emails, calendar, and notes. Normal. Professional. Too clean. She swiped through folders until one caught her eye. Personal archive. Inside were hundreds of messages. Her pulse quickened. Scrolling down, she froze. Dozens of emails from someone named Lena R. The subject lines were ordinary. Dinner tonight? The kids love the park. Miss you already. Emma's stomach dropped. She opened one. Can't wait to see you, D. The girls have been asking when you'll be home. Please don't make excuses again. I hate lying to them. Another message followed, this one sent just 2 days ago. If Emma calls again, please don't answer. You promised me this would end soon. You promised us. Her breath caught. She reread it, hoping it would change, that her eyes were wrong. But it stayed there, solid and cruel. The kitchen blurred around her. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, it all dissolved into white noise. The kids. There were children. Another family. Another home. Her hands shook as she opened more messages. Pictures attached. Daniel at a barbecue. Daniel holding a toddler. Daniel smiling beside a woman with chestnut hair. His arm wrapped around her waist with the same affection he used to give Emma. Her stomach churned. For a second, she couldn't breathe. She dropped the tablet on the table, gripping its edge to steady herself. A sob escaped before she could stop it. She stood, pacing, mind spinning. He couldn't, but the evidence glared back at her, merciless. Every late night, every excuse, it all made sense now. The sound of the front door opening jolted her, but it was only the wind. Still, she turned, heart racing. For a brief, foolish moment, she expected Daniel to walk in, smiling, with some impossible explanation that would make her believe again. But no one came. Wiping her tears, she sat down again and scrolled to the top of the messages. There was a contact number linked to Lena's account. Emma copied it into her phone, hesitating for a long time. Should she call? What if Lena was some scammer, some misunderstanding? Or worse, what if she wasn't? Her thumb hovered over the green button. She closed her eyes and pressed call. 1 ring. 2, 3. Then a voice, soft, warm, unsuspecting. Hello. Emma's throat went dry. Hi, is this Lena? Yes. Who's this? She didn't answer. She couldn't. The silence stretched. Then, a faint sound on the other end, children laughing. A door closing. Hello? Who is this? The woman asked again, a hint of confusion now. Emma ended the call abruptly, her pulse hammering. Her reflection in the dark tablet screen looked like a stranger, eyes hollow, mouth trembling. The proof was there, undeniable. But proof wasn't enough anymore. Tomorrow, she told herself, she'd drive to the address in those emails. She needed to see it with her own eyes. The night after the call, Emma barely slept. Every sound in the house startled her. The creak of the floorboards, the wind against the window, the faint hum of the refrigerator. She replayed Lena's voice in her head again and again, the softness of it, the sound of laughter in the background. The kids have been asking when you'll be home. The words burned. By morning, her decision was made. She needed to know the truth, not just suspect it. She packed Lily's lunch, kissed her on the forehead, and told her she'd be home a little late. Lily's innocent smile nearly broke her. Once her daughter was safely at school, Emma sat in her car, tablet on the passenger seat. The last email from Lena had included an address, 218 Maple Street. She typed it into the GPS, her hands trembling. The drive was long, quiet, and heavy with dread. The sky hung low, gray clouds pressing against the horizon. Every mile felt like another piece of her life unraveling. At one point, she almost turned back. Maybe she didn't want to know. Maybe ignorance could still protect what little remained of her sanity. But the thought of that woman's voice, "You promised us," pushed her foot back on the accelerator. The town grew unfamiliar, smaller houses lined with overgrown hedges and faded mailboxes. Maple Street appeared like a quiet secret, nestled behind rows of oak trees. Emma slowed as she approached the address. Number 218 was a modest two-story home with blue shutters and a swing set in the yard. A child's tricycle lay on the driveway, tipped on its side. The curtains fluttered in the living room window. It looked like every ordinary family home, warm, lived-in, innocent. Then she saw him. Daniel. He was standing by a silver SUV, wearing jeans and a casual jacket, not his work attire. His hair was slightly longer, his expression relaxed, unguarded. A small boy ran toward him, giggling. Daniel bent down, scooped him up effortlessly, and kissed his forehead. Emma's breath caught. Her pulse roared in her ears. From the doorway, Lena appeared, the same woman from the photos. She wore a simple sweater, her hair tied up, her smile tender and familiar. She looked at Daniel the way Emma once did, with unguarded love. Emma gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles whitened. Her world began to tilt. The man she had built her life with, the man she defended, trusted, forgiven, was here, laughing, happy, alive in someone else's home. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She watched as Lena wrapped her arms around Daniel's waist. He leaned down and kissed her gently. The child squealed between them. The sight felt like a blade twisting slowly inside her chest. She wanted to burst out of the car, to scream, to demand an explanation, but something in her froze. Instead, she sat there, hidden behind tinted glass, a ghost haunting her own life. Minutes passed. Then Daniel loaded the child into the car seat, kissed Lena again, and climbed into the driver's seat. Emma ducked low as the SUV pulled away, the sound of the engine fading down the street. When she finally sat up, her hands were trembling uncontrollably. Tears blurred her vision, hot and relentless. She turned her gaze back to the house. Lena had stepped out onto the porch, watching the street, a faint smile still on her face. Behind her, another child appeared, a little girl, maybe 5, clutching a stuffed bunny. Lena knelt, adjusted the girl's jacket, then led her back inside. The door closed softly. Emma's heart cracked open. Daniel hadn't just been lying. He had been living 2 lives. 2 families. 2 versions of himself. She started the car, but didn't drive away immediately. Her reflection in the rearview mirror looked unfamiliar, eyes hollow, mascara smudged, lips pale. "You lied to me," she whispered, the words trembling out like a prayer. As she finally pulled away from Maple Street, the world outside looked warped through her tears. Her mind replayed every late night, every business trip, every empty promise. It all made sense now. The puzzle pieces fit together, forming an image she wished she could unsee. By the time she reached home, the numbness had set in. She parked, walked inside, and locked the door. The quiet pressed against her. On the kitchen counter, Daniel's wedding ring gleamed faintly in a glass dish. He'd forgotten it 2 days ago before leaving for work. Emma stared at it for a long time. Then she picked it up and closed her fist around it until it hurt. Tomorrow, she thought, she wouldn't hide behind tinted glass. Tomorrow he would see her face. The next evening, the house was dim, the only light coming from the lamp by the window. Emma sat on the couch, Daniel's ring still clutched in her palm. Every sound in the house felt sharper, the creak of the stairs, the wind pressing against the windows, the faint ticking of the clock on the mantel. Her heart hadn't stopped pounding since she'd returned from Maple Street. When Daniel finally came home, the familiar sound of his car in the driveway made her chest tighten. She rose slowly, her movements calm but cold. The front door opened and he stepped inside, carrying his work bag and the smell of cologne mixed with something floral, faint traces of the woman Emma had seen on that porch. "Hey," he said casually, kicking off his shoes. "You're still up." Emma's voice was even, almost too controlled. "I couldn't sleep." He smiled, weary, distracted. "Rough day. Got stuck in meetings." She tilted her head, studying him like a stranger. "At work?" "Yeah," he said, unzipping his jacket. "I told you I'd be late." Her fingers curled tighter around the ring. "You weren't at work, Daniel." He froze mid-motion, jacket half off. His eyes flickered up to hers. "What?" "I know about Maple Street." The words sliced the air cleanly. "I saw you. With her. With the kids." Silence. For a long, heavy moment, Neither of them moved. Then Daniel sighed, lowering his gaze. Emma, she stepped closer. Don't you dare say my name like that. How long? How long have you been lying to me? Daniel's shoulders slumped. You don't understand. Then make me understand. Her voice cracked, loud enough that Lily stirred upstairs. You've been living two lives. You have another family, Daniel. A whole other life. He rubbed his face, eyes tired. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Emma let out a sharp laugh, trembling. What? Getting caught? That wasn't supposed to happen? I never wanted to hurt you, he said quietly. You married me while you were still married, didn't you? He hesitated. The pause was answer enough. Emma took a step back, dizzy. My God. Daniel tried to reach for her hand, but she pulled away. Listen to me, he said. It's complicated. Lena and I, things were bad. We separated years ago, but we never finalized it. Then I met you and you thought you could just keep us both? She snapped. I was trying to protect everyone, he said. Lena depends on me. The kids. And what about our child, Daniel? Does Lily not count? He looked away, guilt flickering across his face. Of course she does. Love her. I love you both. Emma stared at him, disbelief cutting through the tears. You can't love two people and destroy them at the same time. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. I was going to tell you. I swear. But every time I tried, I couldn't. I didn't want to lose her, or you. She laughed bitterly. You already lost both. For a long while, neither spoke. The only sound was the faint ticking clock and their uneven breathing. Finally, Daniel whispered, I'm sorry. The words didn't touch her. They floated between them, meaningless. Sorry doesn't erase years of lies, she said. It doesn't erase the nights I stayed up waiting, or the way I told our daughter her father was working late. Daniel's eyes glistened. Please, Emma. Don't tell her. She's just a kid. Her voice hardened. You don't get to decide what she knows anymore. He reached for her again, desperation flickering. We can fix this. Fix, she repeated, almost laughing. You built your life on lies, Daniel. There's nothing left to fix. The tension snapped. He slammed his hand against the table. You think I wanted this? You think I planned to fall in love twice? You have no idea how hard this has been for me. Her eyes widened, the fury returning. For you, she shouted. You did this to all of us. Upstairs, Lily cried out, a small, frightened sound. Emma froze, chest heaving. Daniel turned toward the stairs, but she stepped between them. Don't, she said quietly. Not tonight. He stopped, realizing there was nothing left to say. He picked up his jacket and walked to the door. Where will you go? She asked softly. He paused, hand on the doorknob. I don't know. Then he left. The door closed behind him with a hollow click. Emma stood there, trembling, the silence swallowing her whole. She sank to the floor, clutching the ring until it left a mark in her palm. Somewhere deep inside, she felt the first flicker of something new, not love, not forgiveness, but the burning need for truth. Tomorrow she would call the police. If Daniel wanted to disappear again, this time she'd make sure someone followed the trail. By morning, the house felt eerily still. The coffee machine buzzed softly in the background as Emma sat at the kitchen table, staring at the blank form in front of her, the missing person report. Daniel hadn't come home. Not a single call, not a message. For a man who once couldn't go an hour without texting, his silence was deafening. Lily played quietly in the living room, her crayons scattered across the rug. Every now and then she'd look up and ask, "When's Daddy coming back?" And Emma's throat would tighten. After a long pause, she reached for her phone and dialed the local precinct. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. Maplewood Police Department. How can I help you? Yes, Emma said, her voice low. I'd like to report my husband missing. Within an hour, Officer Reynolds arrived. He was tall, mid-40s, with the kind of weary kindness that came from years of hearing people's worst stories. He sat across from Emma at the table, notebook open. When was the last time you saw him? Last night, she said. Around 9. We had an argument and he left. An argument? His pen paused mid-scribble. She hesitated. Just about personal matters. He nodded. Did he take anything with him? Clothes, money, car keys? The car's gone, she replied. But not his phone. It's still upstairs. He never goes anywhere without it. Reynolds's brow furrowed. That's unusual. Emma nodded. He hasn't contacted anyone since. No one's seen him. He leaned back slightly. Was he under stress lately? Any reason he might have left voluntarily? Emma almost laughed. You could say that. He was living a double life. He has another family, on Maple Street. The officer blinked, caught off guard. That's serious. I followed him there 2 nights ago, she continued. I saw him with them. A woman and 2 children. Reynolds jotted something quickly. And you confronted him after that? Just last night. He didn't deny it. He nodded slowly. All right, we'll file the report and start tracking his vehicle. Do you have his license plate number? She recited it quietly, every digit sharp in her memory. As he wrote, Emma's gaze drifted to the window. Outside, a light drizzle had begun to fall, blurring the garden into gray. Daniel's jacket was still hanging by the door. The faint scent of his cologne clung to it, a cruel reminder that he'd been there just hours ago. Reynolds closed his notebook. We'll do everything we can. If he reaches out, contact us immediately. He rose to leave but then paused. Mrs. Hayes, he said softly, is there any chance he might have gone back to that other address? Emma shook her head. I checked. His car wasn't there. He gave her a sympathetic look before heading out. The sound of his cruiser pulling away left a hollow echo in her chest. When the house fell silent again, Emma sat down, staring at the form she'd signed. Missing person, Daniel Hayes. Seeing his name there made it real. The hours dragged on. Noon turned to evening. Still no word. She called his work. No one had seen him in days. Lena, the woman from Maple Street, didn't answer when Emma tried to call. As darkness crept in, Emma sat by the window, phone in hand, waiting for a call that wouldn't come. Her reflection stared back at her, a woman who had loved, lost, and now feared what might come next. Then, just as she was about to turn off the lamp, her phone buzzed. A known number. She hesitated, heart pounding before answering. A man's voice came through, low and gravelly. Is this Emma Hayes? Yes, who is this? This is Detective Callan from the Maplewood Police. We found your husband's car. Her breath caught. Where? There was a pause, heavy and deliberate. Abandoned near the old quarry, just outside town. You might want to come down here. The line went dead. Emma stood frozen, phone slipping slightly in her grasp. The night outside seemed to press closer to the glass, darker than before. Somewhere deep inside, she knew this wasn't just about a missing person anymore. Tomorrow, everything would change. The morning after the discovery of Daniel's car felt unreal, as though Emma had woken into someone else's nightmare. She'd spent the night staring at the ceiling, replaying Detective Callan's words over and over. Abandoned near the old quarry. They hadn't found Daniel, just the car. No signs of struggle, no blood, no wallet. Only the faint smell of gasoline and mud-stained footprints that didn't match Daniel's shoe size. By noon, she was back at the police station, sitting across from Callan in a dimly lit interview room. His desk was cluttered with files, cold coffee, and a small photo of his family, a reminder that life went on outside this room. We've checked nearby hospitals and traffic cameras, he said. No sign of him leaving the area. His phone's off. His bank cards haven't been used since the night he disappeared. Emma frowned. Daniel wasn't reckless. If he ran, he'd take money. That's what's strange, Callan said, sliding a printed statement across the table. His main account's untouched. But there's something else we found. Emma leaned in. The paper showed transactions from an unfamiliar bank, one she'd never seen before. What is this? A separate account, Callan said. Opened 2 years ago under the name Daniel R. Hayes, but linked to a secondary address, Maple Street. Her heart clenched. He used their address? Looks like it. We're talking regular deposits, large sums. Transfers every month, and cash withdrawals from ATMs near that neighborhood. Emma felt her throat tighten. All those nights he'd said he was working late, every lie was right there in black and white. How much money? Over $70,000 moved in the past year alone, he replied. It's not a fortune, but enough to keep a second family comfortable. So he wasn't just cheating. He was financing them. Callan nodded grimly. We're pulling surveillance from those ATM withdrawals. Maybe we'll see who else had access. Emma's mind raced. Could Lena have known about this? He gave a small shrug. We're checking her records too. But something else doesn't add up. The last withdrawal was made after the time you say Daniel went missing. Her eyes widened. After? Yes. The timestamps from 11:47 p.m. that same night. The car was already abandoned by then. The words sank in like ice. Then someone else used his card. That's what we're thinking, Callan said quietly. Maybe whoever was with him at the quarry. Emma felt her pulse pounding. You think he was taken? We can't rule it out. He handed her a copy of the account summary. If you remember anything, even small details, call me directly. Anything that seems off could help. Emma nodded, clutching the papers as if they could somehow explain the chaos in her life. Back home, she sat at the kitchen table, the file spread out before her. Each transaction was a betrayal. Dinners, hotels, cash transfers. He'd built a secret life one payment at a time. As she scrolled through her laptop, curiosity overpowered grief. She logged into their joint email, searching for any sign of the hidden account. After minutes of searching, she found an auto-forwarded statement buried under travel confirmations. The email wasn't just sent to Daniel. It had been blind copied to another address. Hartley at Verizon Mail. Lena Hartley. Emma's hands trembled as she realized Lena knew about the account. Maybe she even controlled it. Her phone buzzed. A new email notification. No sender, no subject. Just one line in the message. You shouldn't have looked. The screen went dark immediately after, as if the message had erased itself. Her heart thudded violently. She checked again. The email was gone. No trace, no notification. Emma's breath came fast. Someone was watching her. Someone knew she'd seen what she wasn't supposed to. She stood up, closing her laptop slowly, scanning the window for movement. Outside, the quiet suburban street looked harmless. Kids playing, sprinklers hissing, the faint hum of a lawnmower. But for the first time, she felt unsafe in her own home. Her phone buzzed again. This time a text. Unknown number. Meet me tonight. 9 p.m. Maple Street. I'll tell you where he is. Emma's fingers tightened around the phone. Her instinct screamed not to go, but what if this was her only chance to find Daniel? She glanced toward the hallway where Lily's laughter echoed faintly, then back at the glowing message. Somewhere deep inside, a decision formed, reckless, desperate, but inevitable. She would go. Night fell heavy over Maple Street, the air thick with tension and drizzle. Emma parked a block away, the car engine ticking softly as it cooled. Every instinct told her to turn back, but the text message pulsed in her mind like a warning she couldn't ignore. I'll tell you where he is. The street looked almost peaceful, porch lights glowing, curtains drawn, but Emma knew better. She'd been here before, watching from the shadows, when she first saw Daniel with his other family. Now, she was walking straight into that world. She stepped onto the front porch of the pale blue house and hesitated. The door opened before she could knock. Lena stood there, barefoot, hair damp, eyes red and tired. For a long moment, neither woman spoke. Then Lena whispered, "You came." Emma's voice was tight. "You told me to." Lena stepped aside silently, letting her in. The living room smelled faintly of lavender and something burnt. Candles half melted on the table, children's toys scattered under the couch. The house looked lived in, but tense, like it hadn't been peaceful in a long time. Emma's gaze darted to the framed photo on the mantel, Daniel, smiling beside Lena and two small kids. It was like staring into a lie made real. "I didn't send that message," Lena said quietly. "But I knew you would come." Emma frowned. "What do you mean you didn't send it?" Lena shook her head. "Someone wants us to talk." She sat on the couch, motioning for Emma to join her. "And you deserve to know the truth before things get worse." Emma didn't move at first, but curiosity won. She sat, her fingers clenched tightly in her lap. "Then start talking." Lena looked down, twisting her hands together. "Daniel wasn't who you thought he was. He wasn't who I thought he was either. When we met, he told me he was divorced. He said you were gone." Emma's chest tightened. "Gone? What do you mean?" "He said you'd left him. Took your daughter and disappeared. He made me believe he was rebuilding his life." Emma shook her head slowly. "He was still living with me. We were married. He tucked our daughter into bed every night." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't. But when I found out, I couldn't walk away. He said he'd fix it, that he'd end things with you." Emma's stomach churned. "When?" "About a month ago," Lena whispered. "But then he changed. Started acting paranoid. Said someone was following him. He thought his phone was tapped, his accounts being watched." Emma's breath caught. "His secret account." Lena nodded. "He said the money wasn't just for me. He said someone was forcing him to pay, threatening to expose something from his past." Emma stared at her. "Threatening him?" Lena hesitated, then rose and walked to a small drawer under the TV stand. She pulled out a folded sheet of paper and handed it to Emma. It was a printed email, unsigned, time-stamped 3 weeks ago. "If you don't make the payment, your wife finds out everything. Both of them do." Emma's hands trembled as she read. "So someone blackmailed him?" Lena nodded. "He was terrified. That night, before he disappeared, he told me he was meeting someone to end it for good. He left around 10. He never came back." Emma looked up sharply. "The night his car was found?" "Yes," Lena said softly. "And before he left, he told me something strange." Her voice quivered. "He said if anything happened to him, I should tell you everything. That you'd know what to do." Emma's pulse raced. "Why me?" "I don't know," Lena said. "But he said the truth was in his office, in a locked drawer." The room fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of distant thunder rolling in. Emma rose slowly, the words echoing in her mind. The truth was in his office. That was her next step. She needed answers, real ones. "Lena," Emma said, pausing at the door, "if he was scared, if he thought someone was after him, did he ever say who it was?" Lena's eyes darted toward the window, her voice barely above a whisper. "He said it was someone he used to work with. Someone he called the partner." Emma froze. "He never had a business partner." Lena's expression turned pale. "Maybe not the kind you think." Outside, thunder cracked sharply, shaking the windows. Emma stepped back into the rain, her mind spinning. A secret account. Blackmail. A partner no one knew about. As she got into her car, her phone buzzed again. A single new message. "Unknown number, you're getting too close. Stop digging." Her hand went cold on the wheel. For the first time, Emma realized this wasn't just a case of betrayal anymore. This was a hunt. And she was now part of it. The next morning, fog clung low over Maplewood, turning everything into shades of silver and shadow. Emma hadn't slept. Her mind churned with Lena's confession, the blackmail email, and that final message that chilled her to the bone. "You're getting too close. Stop digging." But she couldn't stop. Not now. At dawn, she drove to Daniel's office, a small financial firm downtown, its glass doors reflecting the gray sky. The building was closed, but Emma still had a spare key. Her fingers trembled as she slid it into the lock. Inside, the air was stale, the silence broken only by the soft hum of the old air conditioner. Daniel's office looked untouched, papers neatly stacked, photos of family vacations smiling down at her, mocking the life he'd ruined. She knelt beside the oak desk and tugged at the bottom drawer. Locked just as Lena said. After a few tries with a spare keyring, she finally forced it open. Inside was a single black folder marked private and a flash drive taped beneath it. Her heart pounded. She flipped open the folder and found printouts of financial statements, not from the secret account, but several others. Each listed under different names, all linked to one signature, Daniel R. Hayes. He'd been laundering money. Tucked behind the papers was a faded photo, Daniel standing beside a man Emma didn't recognize. Both were wearing construction vests, smiling beside a half-built lake house. On the back, scribbled in Daniel's handwriting, Lake Briar, the beginning. Before she could process it, her phone buzzed. Detective Callan's name flashed across the screen. "Emma, where are you?" His tone was urgent. "At Daniel's office." "But you need to get down to Lake Briar," he said. "We found something." Her stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" There was a long pause. "A body. Pulled from the lake this morning. We need you to come confirm." The world seemed to tilt. She gripped the edge of the desk, her throat tight. "Is it him?" "We're not sure yet," Callan said. "But there's a wallet with his ID." The line went dead before she could respond. By the time she reached Lake Briar, the fog had thickened into a ghostly haze. Police cars lined the narrow dirt road, their red and blue lights cutting through the mist. Officers moved in quiet urgency around a taped-off area near the water's edge. Emma's shoes sank into the wet earth as she approached. The air smelled of algae and something metallic, blood or decay, she couldn't tell. Callan met her halfway, his face drawn. "You shouldn't be here yet," he said softly, but his eyes betrayed a kind of pity that confirmed her worst fear. "Just tell me," she whispered. "Is it him?" He sighed. "We found a male body wrapped in tarp near the dock. His wallet and watch match your husband's. We'll need dental records to be sure." Emma's knees weakened. She reached for the railing, her breath shallow. "How long has he been in there?" "From the state of decomposition, about a week," Callan said. "Same night he went missing." Tears burned behind her eyes, but she forced them back. Was it murder? Callan's jaw tightened. Just blunt force trauma to the head. A rush of nausea swept through her. The image of Daniel's easy smile flashed in her mind, the same smile he'd worn in the photo by the lake house. She whispered, "This place, he used to come here." Callan frowned. "You knew this location?" "Not exactly," Emma said. "But I found this in his office." She handed him the photo. Lake Briar, the beginning. He studied it, his brow furrowing. The man beside him, that's Robert Keene. He used to own this property before it was foreclosed. Daniel handled his accounts years ago. Emma blinked. Was he his business partner? In a way, Callan said. Keene was accused of embezzlement back then, but the charges vanished after Daniel testified in his favor. Keene disappeared soon after. Emma's heart skipped. You think Keene came back? Callan didn't answer. Instead, he turned toward the lake, where divers were hauling out the last of the tarp. If he did, he might have had a reason to silence Daniel. As they spoke, a forensics officer approached, holding something wrapped in plastic. Detective, this was tied to the tarp. Inside was a small metal keychain shaped like a lighthouse, engraved with a single letter, K. Callan exhaled slowly. Keene. The realization hit Emma like a wave. Daniel hadn't just been cheating, he'd been helping a criminal, maybe even covering up something far worse. As officers carried the body bag past her, she turned away, choking on a sob she couldn't release. Callan placed a steady hand on her shoulder. We'll find out what happened. But I need you to be honest with me now. Did Daniel ever tell you where he was that night? Emma shook her head weakly. No. But I think Lena might know more. He nodded grimly. Then she's our next stop. As the sun began to pierce through the fog, the lake shimmered briefly, calm and quiet again, as if it hadn't just given up its secret. Emma looked back one last time before getting into her car. The water rippled softly, reflecting her pale face in distorted fragments. Somewhere beneath that reflection, she realized the truth was still sinking, and what they'd found was only the beginning. 2 weeks had passed since they pulled Daniel's body from Lake Briar, but the echoes of that day still lingered, in Emma's mind, in the walls of her home, and in every sleepless night that followed. The police had ruled it a homicide. The investigation, however, was far from over. Detective Callan had spent hours questioning Lena, piecing together Daniel's final days. But the deeper they dug, the more questions surfaced. especially about the mysterious partner, Robert Keene. He'd vanished years ago, leaving behind debt, forged documents, and a trail of fraud that had conveniently disappeared from the record. Now, it all pointed back to Daniel. And to something darker. Emma sat at the kitchen table, the morning sun bleeding through half-closed blinds. Lily was upstairs, playing quietly, blissfully unaware of the chaos surrounding her mother's world. On the table lay a sealed envelope, delivered earlier that morning with no return address, just her name written in neat block letters. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It showed Daniel and Robert Keene standing beside that same half-built lake house. Only this time, a third figure was visible in the background. Blurry, half-turned, but unmistakable. Lena. Emma's pulse quickened. She flipped the photo over. Scrawled in red ink were the words, "You still don't know everything." A knock startled her. She froze, the letter slipping from her hands. Through the glass pane of the front door, she saw the silhouette of a man, tall, broad-shouldered, his figure half hidden by the afternoon glare. For a moment, her breath caught. It was a posture she knew by heart, one that haunted her dreams. But that was impossible. Daniel was gone. Cautiously, she opened the door. Detective Callan stood there, his coat damp from the drizzle. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said gently. "Can I come in?" Emma nodded, stepping aside. The smell of rain followed him into the house. He noticed the photo on the table almost immediately. "You got one too," he muttered. Emma looked up sharply. "Two." He sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Lena received an identical picture this morning. Same handwriting, same ink. No fingerprints. Whoever's sending these knows what they're doing. "Do you think Keene's still alive?" she asked. Callan hesitated. "We don't have proof he's dead. And the body we found at the lake, there were traces of another person's DNA under Daniel's nails. But it doesn't match Keene. It's someone else." Emma's stomach turned. "Someone else?" "We don't know yet, but the lab's rushing it." He glanced at her carefully. "Until then, I need you to be careful. Don't open the door for anyone you don't know. Don't go anywhere alone." She nodded, though her voice barely worked. "Do you think whoever killed him is watching me?" Callan didn't answer. His silence was enough. After he left, the house felt too quiet again. The ticking clock, the distant hum of the fridge, all of it amplified the hollow ache inside her. She gathered the photograph, staring at Lena's blurred face in the background. Had Lena known more than she admitted? Or was she in danger too? The thought twisted in her mind as she walked upstairs to check on Lily. The child was asleep, curled under a pink blanket, her tiny hand clutching a stuffed rabbit. Emma brushed a strand of hair from her forehead and whispered, "It's over now, baby." But even as she said it, she didn't believe it. Downstairs, her phone vibrated. A new message. "Unknown number. You shouldn't have trusted her." Emma's chest tightened. She typed back quickly, "Who is this? What do you want?" 3 dots blinked on the screen, then vanished. Moments later, another knock echoed through the house. This one was softer. Slower. Like a whisper made physical. Emma froze. Through the front window, she could just make out a figure standing in the rain. Smaller than before, slender, wearing a dark coat. Lena. Emma's heartbeat thundered in her ears as she opened the door a crack. Lena stood there, drenched, her eyes wide with something between fear and guilt. "Emma," she said breathlessly, "they know about you. About the files. You have to leave." "No." Emma stared, the wind whipping Lena's hair across her face. "Who knows?" Before Lena could answer, a car engine roared from down the street. Headlights flared, blinding them both. Lena turned just as a shot rang out. The sound shattered the quiet suburban air. Emma screamed as Lena collapsed onto the doorstep, the same place Daniel had stood countless mornings before, smiling, lying, pretending everything was fine. Blood pooled beneath her, mixing with the rainwater, crawling toward Emma's bare feet. Somewhere in the distance, tires screeched, then silence. Emma knelt beside Lena, shaking. "Who did this?" Lena's lips parted, voice barely audible. "It wasn't Keene," she whispered. "It was Her words broke off as her eyes glazed over. Emma froze, her hands trembling over the lifeless body. The rain poured harder, washing the blood into the cracks of the porch. And then, from her phone, still clutched in her other hand, came another message. Unknown number, now you know too much. Emma looked up, the street empty, the storm swallowing every sound. The doorstep, the same one where Daniel's lies began, had claimed another truth. But this time, it wasn't over. It was just beginning.